Listen to that sound, my friends. That rhythmic, almost hypnotic pulse you hear, playing softly there. It's the unceasing mechanical sigh of an iron lung. For decades, it stood as this razor thin line between life and, well, oblivion for countless souls. If you really let those sounds wash over you, you start to grasp the sheer, maybe terrifying intimacy of such a device. This wasn't some, I don't know, distant medical thing. It became a living, breathing extension of the human body, a constant, undeniable presence every single moment.
Absolutely. And today we're diving into a really profound question, one that kind of scrapes at the very core of what it means to be human. What did it truly mean to live a full, vibrant life? To embrace love, to learn, chase dreams, fight like hell for your own self-determination, all while you're encased within a 7-foot, 800-pound steel cylinder. We'll explore this through the incredible lens of individuals like Paul Alexander, a man who's 72 years in an iron lung. He just passed this March, transformed him into a lawyer, an author, a global beacon of just unyielding spirit. His story, you can hear it whispered in the title of his memoir, 3 Minutes for a Dog. It hints at this almost unbelievable depth of human resilience, and maybe a primal, desperate yearning for connection that just defied every damn physical limitation.
So settle in, because this is a deep dive into an era of terrifying vulnerability, yeah, but also breathtaking human triumph. It's a journey that will absolutely make you rethink what living truly means. Okay, imagine a time, and it really wasn't that long ago, when summer wasn't just about carefree joy, long days at the beach, afternoons by the pool. No, instead, for millions, it was a season of palpable, gut-wrenching dread. In the early to mid 20th century, the silent, insidious terror stalked America and really much of the world. Poliomyelitis. Polio. It seemed to arrive with the warmth, transforming playgrounds into these zones of panic, public pools into vectors of, well, invisible disease. It was a time when a kid splashing in a sprinkler sharing a soda, it could carry this hidden, devastating threat of a lifetime trapped in steel.
And that terror wasn't just some vague societal anxiety. It was a chilling, omnipresent reality for families everywhere. By the late 1940s, early 1950s especially, polio had definitely earned its moniker as the most feared disease in the world. The scale of it is just staggering, truly mind-boggling when you think about the impact on society, on individual families. Just take 1952, a single year, nearly 58,000 cases reported in the U.S. alone.
58,000.
Think about that number. 58,000 lives just irrevocably altered. Countless families torn apart by fear, by grief. Over 3,000 deaths that year. And maybe even more haunting, over 21,000 people left with some form of permanent paralysis, often debilitating.
21,000. Just like that.
Right. This wasn't just an illness hitting a few unfortunate families here and there. It was a societal catastrophe. It tore at the fabric of communities, shut down public life, cast this long, dark shadow over a whole generation of kids. It really felt like this invisible enemy that could strike anywhere, anytime, no warning.
Absolutely. The numbers are staggering, but what made polio so uniquely brutal, so utterly devastating, was its insidious assault on childhood itself. The start of it, the beginning of the nightmare, often began in these moments of just pure, youthful innocence. Moments that were then violently, irrevocably shattered. It's a profound betrayal, isn't it? To have life's simple pleasures turn without any warning into the prelude to absolute horror. Consider this for a moment. Picture 6-year-old Paul Alexander. Playing in the summer rain, quiet Dallas suburb, the innocent joy of splashing right, cool drops on his skin, then suddenly his neck starts to ache, his head pounds. Not kid playing exhaustion, but the first tremor of something profoundly, catastrophically wrong. That rain, symbol of freedom, suddenly an unwelcome omen. Or think about 9-year-old Sharon Stern. Wakes up with a headache, her biggest worry, missing a spelling test at school, a normal, everyday kid worry, only to have her entire world cut, attached to something else, as she put it, within days. Her reality, her sense of self, just sliced and reassembled into something alien, unrecognizable. And then Martha Lillard, contracting the virus in '53, just after her 5th birthday party at an amusement park. That fleeting joy of a birthday treat, that little slice of childhood, just eclipsed by an invisible enemy that would steal her physical freedom for life. These weren't kids in extraordinary circumstances. These were ordinary American children experiencing simple, beautiful things, only to have it all ripped away.
Exactly. These ordinary, tender moments, these snapshots of childhood, were far too often the terrifying prelude to catastrophe. A soaring fever, a blinding headache. It would rapidly give way to paralysis, spreading with horrifying speed, sometimes just days. The virus C launched this direct, brutal assault on the motor neurons in the spinal cord. It basically severed the communication lines between the brain and the muscles.
Just cut the wires.
Pretty much. And for thousands upon thousands of these kids, this biological siege went further. It attacked the diaphragm, the chest muscles. And when that happened, The simple, involuntary, absolutely essential act of breathing became impossible. Their own bodies betrayed them,
God, unimaginable.
unable to perform the most basic function for life. Now, many who got polio only had mild flu-like symptoms, thankfully. But for those where it hit the central nervous system, it was a rapid descent into this terrifying reality, sometimes within hours.
The collective response to this unseen, unmerciful enemy, it was pure, desperate fear. And it showed up in ways that, to us now, might seem almost medieval, but they speak volumes about the terror people felt. Picture this. A family in Wytheville, Virginia. Following official advice, they incinerated all their sick son's belongings. His clothes, his bed, even his comic books. In the garden, a desperate, almost primal plea to stop the virus's invisible march. A futile attempt to burn away the horror born from not knowing how it spread.
Total desperation.
And beyond those personal tragedies, hospitals were just swamped, overflowing with paralyzed children, row after row, medical staff working themselves ragged, often to the point of exhaustion, despair. The sight of those wards, devastating. Communities banded together, sure. The March of Dimes, started by FDR himself, a polio survivor.
Like a crucial effort.
They rallied to fund research, provide care, but the underlying feeling was still profound helplessness against this phantom menace they couldn't see, couldn't fully grasp, and for a time couldn't effectively fight. So faced with this utter, soul-crushing horror, humanity did what it does, scrambled for answers, any glimmer of hope, and what emerged was this incredible marvel of ingenuity, born directly from that desperation, the iron lung. A device that, yeah, even today looks like something from retro sci-fi, but was a very real, very present lifeline for so many.
It really is a feat of engineering born from profound medical need.
Huh?
At its heart, the iron lung worked on a principle called negative pressure ventilation, NPV. It's ingenious, really, how it mimicked the body's own natural breathing.
How so, exactly?
Well, think about how you breathe right now. Your diaphragm contracts, your rib cage expands, creating a slight vacuum negative pressure in your chest. That pulls air in. The iron lung replicated that, but externally. It acted like an artificial diaphragm in the rib cage. It was this massive, airtight cylinder. Enclosed the patient's whole body from the neck down. Head sticking out. A powerful motor, often with bellows, would pump air out of that sealed tank, creating a vacuum inside. This lower pressure outside the body forced the patient's chest to expand, pulling air into their lungs through their nose and mouth, which were at normal air pressure.
Ah, okay. So the pressure difference does the work.
Exactly. Then, the pump lets air back into the tank. Pressure equalizes. The patient's chest naturally contracts, passively exhaling the air. This constant cycle over and over produced that whoosh and hiss, the very sound of life for its inhabitants, an almost primal cadence of survival. Simple concept, revolutionary practice.
And the development, the story behind it is fascinating too. Real innovation under duress. The first practical one, 1928, Harvard. Philip Drinker and Louis Agassiz Shaw. Pretty crude, apparently, powered by 2 vacuum cleaners.
Can you imagine the noise?
Yeah.
The raw power, yeah. Improvisational brilliance from sheer need.
But then in 1931, John Haven Emerson dramatically improved it. Made it lighter, much cheaper, less than half the price of Drinkers, more reliable, made it more accessible.
Huge step forward.
And Emerson added critical things, like portholes for nursing access. Before that, they had to open the whole thing for basic care. Terrifying for the patient, having to hold their breath.
Oh, absolutely. The portholes were vital.
And crucially, he added an emergency hand pump for power failures. That hand pump, I mean, for many, that was literally a lifesaver, a manual backup when the power and life itself flickered out, a constant reminder of how precarious it all was.
For a child, delirious with fever, gasping for breath, being put into this thing was bewildering, terrifying, deeply disorienting. Many were unconscious when they went in, woke up to this new, horrifying reality. Paul Alexander recalled seeing rows and rows of other kids, all in identical metal canisters, a chilling sight. He remembered the silence just broken by the machine's hiss and sigh.
Oh, God.
Sharon Stern, in her delirium, just saw a huge disc around my shoulders. Totally oblivious to the monster machine that now claimed her body, a steel shell replacing failing muscles. Yet, in that first moment, amidst the terror, the overwhelming physical sensation was often one of profound, blessed relief.
Relief?
Yes. After the desperate, agonizing struggle to breathe, the machine's steady, unwavering rhythm was salvation, release from that primal terror of suffocation. Martha Lillard, who we'll talk more about, remembered being put inside as a huge relief, a sudden blessed break from fighting for air.
But that fleeting relief, that desperate sigh of survival, was quickly, terribly followed by the crushing realization of total confinement. Absolute. This machine, grimly called a coffin on legs by some, It was what medical ethicists call a halfway technology. Stark term. It wasn't a cure, not even close. Didn't fix nerves, didn't restore muscles. It was a brutal, pragmatic compromise, holding death back, but at a profound cost.
Exactly. And being sustained by a halfway technology, the implications were huge, deeply unsettling. Psychologically, it meant indefinitely postponing death, often at immense cost, financial, emotional, but without offering a path back to real independence. Think of the toll on patients' families, knowing this was life support, not a temporary stop on the road back to health.
A kind of limbo.
A liminal space, exactly, between the recovered and the deceased, utterly dependent on tech that stops life ending, but also heavily constrained it. It raised huge ethical questions for doctors, society. At what point does prolonging life, when it's so limited, become a different kind of burden, a different confinement?
Questions we still grapple with in other contexts.
Absolutely. The iron lung's sheer physical form, massive, deafening 800 pounds of steel, is such a stark, brutal contrast to the elegant, definitive, preventative tech that eventually made it obsolete. The polio vaccine. This machine, in its unwieldy brilliance, represented a whole era of medicine. Valiant, ingenious, but fundamentally clumsy. Battling a disease whose biology wasn't yet conquered, it was the best they could do then. And for many, it was just enough to endure.
So, a mechanical marvel, a desperate answer, a symbol of hope and limitation. But once inside, what did life feel like? Day to day, how did their world shrink, yet maybe paradoxically expand in other ways? Let's get into the reality of life inside that cylinder.
The most dominant, inescapable element. Sound. No question. Imagine the constant, unrelenting thrum of the motor, the bellows. Survivors talk about a regular hiss and sigh, the rhythmic whoosh, just a constant noise. This wasn't just background noise. It was the cadence of their existence, the literal sound of their life continuing.
Reassuring and maddening at the same time, I bet.
Exactly. Reassuring proof the machine was working, but also this persistent presence, an ever-present reminder of confinement, a dull roar you couldn't escape. Then there was sight, almost entirely through a small angled mirror above the head.
It's just a mirror.
Just a mirror. The singular, solitary window to the outside world. Their only portal. It reflected anxious family faces, maybe trying to smile. Nurses in white moving silently between machines doing vital, grueling work. And maybe most hauntingly, the silent, trapped faces of other patients in their own metal tombs. A universe viewed only in reflection. Seen, absorbed, but agonizingly, never ever touched.
And touch. Defined by absolute, unyielding confinement, a profound absence of it in a way. A tight rubber collar sealed around the neck, maintaining that crucial pressure difference, a constant physical boundary. Patients felt the subtle pressure changes on their bodies as the machine breathed for them, constant internal ebb and flow, defining their existence. But they couldn't move, couldn't scratch an itch, imagine that. A small irritation becoming agony over hours, couldn't wipe away a tear, simple comfort denied, couldn't shift an aching muscle, body locked, unable to adjust, absolute agonizing stillness. A physical prison few of us can truly fathom, a brutal lesson in the fragility of autonomy.
Daily existence, what? Well, total dependence, absolute. Every single aspect of personal care, washing, feeding, hair combing, bedpans done by nurses reaching through small portals. Think of the indignity, the utter helplessness, the erosion of personal autonomy. Privacy. Impossible.
Humiliating sometimes, I imagine.
Deeply. And any task needing the lung-open physical therapy, a bed change became this terrifying race against time, forcing the patient to hold their breath for as long as their will and their body could manage, consciously overriding the most primal reflex for minutes, fighting rising panic. Paul Alexander remembered lying for hours in his own waste, unable to tell anyone he needed cleaning.
Oh, God, that's horrific.
And sadly, not uncommon, highlighting the deep vulnerability, the immense strain on patients and overstretched staff.
That horrific, all-encompassing experience, extreme confinement, sensory deprivation, total loss of autonomy. It draws these chilling, undeniable parallels to solitary confinement. It exacted a profound, brutal psychological toll. This wasn't just physical survival. It was a daily, grinding battle for mental, emotional survival, too. A fight for sanity.
Indeed. The psychological impact was profound, fostered what psychiatrists call isolation panic, followed by crushing depression, debilitating anxiety, and overwhelming soul-sucking helplessness. Fear was a constant companion, multifaceted, a shadow that never left. Sharon Stern vividly recalled the sheer terror of nights when nurses just wouldn't come when she called, utterly alone in the dark with the machine's hum, the only sound in her world.
Terrifying.
Beyond the immediate indignities, the isolation, there was the gnawing, ever-present fear of mechanical failure, that sudden, awful silence of the motor, and most acutely, the ever-present bone-chilling terror of a power outage.
Right, the hand pump.
For someone whose breath depended on an electric motor, a power failure was quite literally a potential death sentence, not theoretical. Tragically realized in 2008. Diane Odell, 61 years old, died after a storm cut power and her emergency generator failed. Imagine living every single day with that hanging over you. The mental fortitude required. Truly immense.
In those big polio wards, amidst the hum and whoosh, patients found themselves in this macabre yet incredibly intimate community. Others in the exact same predicament. They developed their own silent ways to communicate, making faces in their mirrors, forming unspoken bonds of shared understanding, a grim camaraderie. Yet this shared space, this unique community, was also a relentless crucible of heartbreak.
As Paul Alexander soberly remembered, and it's a quote that just rips through you, every time I'd make a friend, they'd die.
Oh, wow.
The constant presence of death, friends disappearing from the rows, made the bonds even more precious, their loss even more devastating. This existence, you realize, forced a profound, almost philosophical shift. Body immobile, basic functions outsourced to a machine. The concept of self had to be utterly redefined, rebuilt from scratch.
How do you even do that?
The physical body became this alien object, something serviced by others, a shell they inhabited but couldn't command. The boundary between human and machine blurred, almost vanished. The lungs' rhythm became their rhythm, its breath, their breath. To survive, to truly live, living had to be relocated almost entirely to the mind. Paul Alexander, in this staggering testament to his spirit, said it perfectly. I spent a lot of time in the iron lung, but I didn't live in it. I lived outside it, in my mind, my heart, and the life I created.
Incredible perspective.
This radical decoupling of self from physical form, it was the key to survival. And for some, the foundation for extraordinary, almost unbelievable achievement.
That's a powerful thought. That you can be physically trapped, utterly dependent, yet your spirit, your consciousness can live a life outside that reality. But this story, despite the profound suffering we've discussed, isn't just grim endurance, no. It is unequivocally a narrative of awe-inspiring adaptation, sheer, unadulterated resilience. Faced with near-total physical helplessness, these survivors found astonishing, ingenious ways to reclaim agency, channeling their entire life force into the one domain they still commanded, their minds. It's a testament, really, to the human spirit pushed to its absolute limit, finding a way to thrive, assert its will.
Absolutely. And a monumental breakthrough for many, a true moment of self-liberation was mastering glossopharyngeal breathing, which patients with a touch of dark gallows humor nicknamed frog breathing.
Frog breathing?
Yeah, it involved consciously trapping a pocket of air in the mouth and throat. Then, with immense, almost superhuman effort, using tongue and pharyngeal muscles to force that air down past the vocal cords into the lungs, essentially swallowing or gulping air, one mouthful at a time, like a frog gulps air.
Wow, that sounds hard.
Laborious, incredibly unnatural. It required intense concentration. But for those who mastered it, it was their only way out, even briefly. A desperate, elegant solution to reclaim a few precious breaths of freedom.
Frog breathing. What an evocative nickname for such a grueling task. Speaks volumes about their spirit. Maybe that gallows humor you mentioned. But learning it, arduous, terrifying, I gather. Imagine the concentration, the primal fear, demanded intense focus for every single breath, fighting the primal panic of suffocation with every gulp.
A constant battle.
A conscious override of every natural instinct. For Paul Alexander, it took a full, agonizing year to master. A year of conscious, terrifying effort just to breathe on his own for moments. But success. Monumental. A deeply personal victory. A literal breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
The crucial first step toward life beyond the machine. Mastering this let them leave the lung for gradually longer periods. Precious freedom. Mobility in a wheelchair. Engaging with the world on their terms. It was, in every sense, their declaration of independence. A defiant roar against confinement.
And this hard-won agency fueled lives of absolutely incredible accomplishment. A powerful, defiant rebuke to any notion of a life defined solely by disability. Their achievements weren't just personal triumphs, profound as they were. They were acts of deep self-determination, executed through sheer force of will and intellect. Consider these titans of resilience, the sheer grit required. Paul Alexander. After teaching himself to breathe a feat hard to even imagine, he became the first person to graduate from his Dallas high school without ever physically attending class.
How did he manage that?
Through a tutor visiting him at home, painstakingly dictating lessons, Paul responding from inside his lung. He then earned a law degree from the University of Texas at Austin. Imagine the logistics. Classes, notes, discussions, often connected to his machine, sometimes upright in a special rig for short periods. For decades, he practiced as a trial lawyer, representing clients in court from a modified wheelchair, holding him upright. His mind, his sharpest weapon, his voice, often amplified. And later, he spent over 8 grueling years writing his memoir. Couldn't use his hands, used a plastic stick in his mouth, painstakingly typing every single word on a keyboard.
One letter at a time for 8 years.
One character at a time for 8 years, just to share his story, an almost unimaginable act of sustained effort, dedication. Martha Mason, confined for an astounding 61 years, a lifetime. Graduated first in her class, high school, and Wake Forest University. Elected to Phi Beta Kappa.
How? Just studying from bed.
Studying from her lung, books propped up, often with help from family tutors. Her mind was her freedom. A gifted writer, authored her own memoir, Breath. A lifetime in the rhythm of an iron lung. Shared her experiences with candor, grace, and she refused to be isolated. Famously hosted dinner parties for friends. Imagine the scene. Lively conversation, laughter, the table pushed right up to her machine, a testament that connection transcends physical barriers. She'd still be at the heart of her social life.
Amazing speech.
Diane Odell. From inside her 750-pound lung, earned a high school diploma, took college courses, used a voice-activated computer to write a children's book. Her unwavering goal, inspire young people, especially those with disabilities, to never ever give up, find their own way, find their voice. She taught the world creativity and compassion could flourish even in the most restricted circumstances.
These weren't just hobbies, not distractions. They were the very tools through which these extraordinary individuals acted upon the world, how they lived their fullest lives. Physical capacity brutally denied, they strategically deployed intellectual capacity as its potent substitute. Their minds became their limbs, their voices, their primary means of constructing a meaningful, impactful life. What a profound testament to the unconquerable human spirit. Its ingenuity, its relentless refusal to be diminished, makes you wonder what else we're capable of when stripped of everything we take for granted. That journey from passive survival to active living often hinged not just on intellect, but on a single, profoundly powerful personal motivation. For Paul Alexander, the young boy trapped in steel, that motivation was the electrifying, simple promise of a dog. A moment capturing the essence of yearning for connection, something tangible to fight for.
This story, so incredibly moving it became his memoir title, 3 Minutes for a Dog. It's a poignant illustration of how the human-animal bonds can fuel the deepest reserves of resilience. His physical therapist, Mrs. Sullivan, understood implicitly. That terrifying, exhausting work of learning frog breathing needed a goal, a visceral desire, beyond just survival or doctor's orders.
Smart woman.
She made a powerful, simple deal with the young boy. Master the technique, breathe on his own outside the lung for 3 consecutive minutes. She'd get him a puppy. The desire for that dog became Paul's singular driving force, a beacon of hope in his steel prison, a tangible reward transcending his physical reality.
3 minutes seems so short, yet so long in that context.
Exactly. The process was grueling, frightening, fighting that primal panic of suffocation with every gulp. Took him a full year of practice. Relentless, terrifying effort, pushing body and mind to their absolute limits. And he finally did it. Earned his 3 minutes of freedom, and in return, got his puppy, a dog named Ginger.
And Ginger. She was far more than just a pet. She was the tangible, breathing reward for this monumental act of self-reclamation. She represented Paul's first taste of life beyond the machine, a life where he could leave his room, sit on the porch, eventually venture into the yard. This moment was pivotal, marked the transfer of biological autonomy from the mechanical to the intensely personal, driven by simple, profound connection. The promise of a canine companion wagging tail, unconditional love, it was the catalyst, ignited a lifetime of courage, gave him the impetus to break free, even for minutes at first, and build a life beyond the hum and whoosh.
This powerful anecdote, Boy and His Dog, it's a perfect bridge to understanding the vital, often overlooked role companion and service animals play for people with severe disabilities, including many polio survivors with residual paralysis. Their contribution spans emotional, practical, deep social domains, profoundly enhancing quality of life, offering a lifeline of connection. Consider emotional support. For people facing profound isolation, confinement, physical dependence, the unconditional, non-judgmental companionship of an animal is powerful therapy. Combats crushing loneliness, especially acute with limited mobility. Slashes stress, anxiety. Can even measurably lower blood pressure. More importantly, provides a crucial, undeniable reason to stay engaged with life. A reason to get up, fight for those minutes outside the lung. A furry anchor to the living world.
A reason to keep going.
Practical assistance. Specially trained service dogs dramatically increase independence for those with limited mobility. They do tasks we take for granted. Retrieving dropped keys, a phone, opening doors, drawers, assisting with laundry, even pulling a manual wheelchair, providing balance support. For someone like Paul, even the smallest task by a dog meant a profound sense of increased self-reliance. Freedom from constant human help.
Makes a huge difference.
A social bridge. Perhaps most remarkably, a service dog fundamentally changes how the public interacts with someone with a disability. Often, attention shifts from the wheelchair or limitation to the remarkable animal. Instead of stares of pity or avoidance, which are devastating, isolating the dog invites smiles, questions, opens avenues for positive social connection, helps normalize perceptions, transforms interaction from discomfort to curiosity, warmth. Lets the individual be seen initially through the lens of their incredible companion.
The saga of Paul and Ginger, born from that 3-minute struggle for breath, perfectly encapsulates this profound bond. Shows how the simple, earnest promise of a dog's companionship can ignite a lifetime of courage, become the very first vital step on a long, arduous, but ultimately triumphant road back to the world. A beautiful, powerful lesson in the quiet strength of love and purpose, how those connections can literally save a life. The era of the iron lung and the polio terror that spawned it came to a swift, resounding end, one of the greatest public health triumphs of the 20th century, a testament to focused science and global cooperation against a widespread threat.
Indeed, the shift was almost miraculous. Early 1950s, after years of painstaking research, race against time. Dr. Jonas Salk developed the first successful inactivated polio vaccine, IPV, used a killed virus. Couldn't cause polio, but triggered immunity. After massive public trials, nearly 2 million kids, largest medical experiment then licensed April 12, 1955.
A landmark day.
Absolutely. Then, just a few years later, 1961, a second breakthrough. The oral polio vaccine, OPV, by Dr. Albert Sabin, used a live, weakened virus, offered broader immunity, easily given in drops, made mass vaccination much simpler. And the spirit of it all. Captured by Salk himself. Asked who owned the patent, he just replied with incredible humility, well, the people, I would say. There is no patent. Could you patent the sun?
Wow. Just gave it away.
Truly encapsulated knowledge for the common good, a profound gift to humanity.
The impact of mass vaccination. Immediate. Staggering, like watching a dark cloud dissipate almost instantly. A whole society breathing a collective sigh of relief. The iron lung wards, those grim metallic landscapes of despair, emptied almost overnight. Kids who lay side by side in machines suddenly going home, playing, breathing on their own.
The revolution.
The machines, haunting symbols of life and confinement, became obsolete relics of a vanquished disease. The J.H. Emerson Company, a primary maker, stopped producing iron lungs in 1970. A quiet but incredibly significant marker of a new era, a monumental shift.
To illustrate this dramatic decline, this shift from necessity to near obsolescence. Consider these stark milestones. Puts the human triumph in perspective. 1928, first practical iron lung. 1952, U.S. polio epidemic peaks, over 57,000 cases. Horrifying. 1955, Salk's vaccine licensed. 1959, just a few years post-vaccine, 1,200 people still using iron lungs in the U.S. Significant drop, but still substantial.
Still a lot.
1961, Sabin's oral vaccine introduced, accelerating the decline. 1970, Emerson stops manufacturing. By 2017, the number of U.S. iron lung users dropped to just 3, living quiet lives sustained by forgotten tech. And tragically, with Paul Alexander passing this March, Martha Lillard now stands as the last known person living in an iron lung.
The very last one.
From tens of thousands to one, in a single lifetime. Incredible testament to medical progress.
That rapid decline, that scientific triumph, left this tiny number of long-term users in an incredibly unique, challenging position. They are, quite literally, living relics. Lives sustained by half-century-old technology the rest of the world forgot. Rendered obsolete by the progress that saves so many others. Their daily existence, a profound echo of a past era.
And this creates immense practical difficulties, profound obstacles most of us never consider, most pressing. The constant grueling struggle to find spare parts, and crucially, mechanics with the specialized archaic knowledge to repair these aging, delicate machines.
Right. Where do you even find someone who knows how?
Exactly. Not common components or skills anymore. A vanishing craft for vanishing tech. Families scour the internet, contact museums, commission custom parts for machinists, knowing a single mechanical failure could be fatal. And a common complex question arises. Why didn't these last few just switch to modern positive pressure ventilators? Tube or mask, seemingly more advanced, portable.
That's a crucial question, and the answer isn't simple upgrading. For some, purely physiological, brutal reality. Diana Dell, for instance, had such severe spinal deformity from polio. Impossible for her to use a modern portable device. Her body wouldn't allow the sealing required.
Ah, okay.
For others, after decades of their bodies being gently breathed by external negative pressure, the more invasive, forceful nature of positive pressure ventilation was simply intolerable, shocking, uncomfortable intrusion. And there's a critical quality of life difference. Modern ventilators often need sedation. The tube or tight mask stops patients speaking or eating by mouth. The iron lung, for all its bulk, uniquely allowed all those vital activities, communication, sustenance, a semblance of normal daily life, engaging with surroundings in a way modern alternatives often deny.
Exactly. As Martha Lillard, the last known person in an iron lung, put it, an unequivocally clear, resonant voice. That's what keeps me healthy. That's what heals me. That's what allows me to breathe the next day. Her words cut to the core, highlights the symbiotic relationship they developed with their machines.
It became part of them.
Their continued existence is a living, breathing legacy. They are the last witnesses to a world before the vaccine, a powerful, visceral reminder of what was truly at stake in the fight against polio, and an undeniable testament to the monumental life-saving importance of vaccination, a triumph we too often take for granted. They're a tangible link to a past that, thanks to science, most of us can barely imagine.
The iron lung. A profound, agonizing paradox. A prison that miraculously gave life. A grim symbol of medical limitation that became the stage for boundless human achievement. It represented a specific, chilling moment in history when humanity's best, most desperate defense against a devastating virus was a mechanical cage. A cage that breathed and allowed dreams to flourish inside.
Yet, from within the unforgiving confines of that cage, its inhabitants taught the world about the limitless capacity of the human mind, the unyielding, defiant nature of the will to live, the journey from the sheer terror of polio wards to the quiet dignity of the last survivors. It's a story woven with threads of fear, staggering resilience, extraordinary adaptation, a tapestry of human experience at its most intense. Their lives testify to the profound difference between physical limitation and the boundless potential of the human spirit.
And the final potent word belongs to them. In one of his last interviews, Paul Alexander reflected on a lifetime defined by his machine, fiercely rejecting reductive labels. He declared, with a force that defied his physical state, "I've never thought of myself as a cripple. I'm not disabled, I'm not handicapped, and I'm not limited.
Powerful.
I've experienced everything that you have and more. I'm Paul Alexander, a human being." A man who, despite unimaginable confinement, lived a life truly unbound.
The echo of that mechanical breath. It isn't just the sound of a forgotten machine, a relic of a bygone era. No, it is the enduring, unbreakable rhythm of a life lived against unimaginable odds, a testament to the simple, raw, utterly profound fact that even when the body is brutally confined, the human spirit can and absolutely will find the way to be free. It reminds us of the preciousness of every breath, every choice, the incredible power of the human will. What will you do with your precious breath?